Good afternoon, it's Monday, January 18. I'm Anthony Lugg with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. 3 people are dead and 2 others injured following a drive-by shooting in Allman Town, Kingston last night. The incident took place on Prince of Wales Street. KIRK WRIGHT has more.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Now, our information is that persons were on Prince of Wales Street in Allman Town playing dominoes and drinking alcohol. And about 7:15, 2 cars drove onto the street, stopped in the vicinity of the men. Persons alighted from the vehicles, came out, and started firing at them. In the end, though, 5 persons, we were told, were shot. 2 died on the spot, and another 2 admitted to hospital. Sometime in the morning, one of those who was admitted died. 1 is still in hospital in critical condition. Now I can tell you the dead men are Colleen Foster, 20 years old, Raheem Brown, 21, and the man who later died in hospital is Marvin Livingston Jr. 1 is still in critical condition at the moment, and we've been told from investigators that they picked up spent shells belonging to AK-47 and M16 rifles. Now, the police can't say yet the motive for the shooting, but they are carrying out investigations. And as soon as we get more, we will tell you in subsequent newscasts. Anthony?
Meanwhile, a senior citizen was among 3 people killed in Quarry, Salt Springs, St. James yesterday. The 3 have been identified as 77-year-old Estriana Wilson, otherwise called Miss Ima from Quarry, 29-year-old music producer Shavian McPherson of a Catadupa address in St. James, and 47-year-old Dwight McCollum, otherwise called Blue, also from Quarry. 4 other people are nursing bullet wounds, including 1 believed to be the driver of the vehicle used by the gunmen. The police say the incident occurred about 6 p.m. when a crowd was gathered for a football match and an illegal party. Men traveling in a white Toyota Voxy opened fire at the crowd, injuring 7 people. The police were called and the injured taken to hospital. 3 were pronounced dead. The man, suspected to be the driver of the getaway vehicle, was later found with a bullet wound. Investigators theorized that he was accidentally shot by his cronies. The call for shutting down illegally operated nursing homes in Hanover is growing louder. This following the revelation at a recent municipal corporation meeting that several nursing homes have migrated from outside the parish and are operating without license in Hanover. Sandy Williams reports.
This to me is like robot taxi. You know, it's the same situation.
Chairman of the Hanover Municipal Corporation, Sheridan Samuels, expressing his view about the matter of nursing homes operating illegally in the parish. The topic was once again on the agenda of the corporation's first monthly meeting for 2021. The matter has been on the books for some time now, and since the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic is not over, the corporation is insisting that something must be done to clamp down on the illicit practice, even if it means to make an example out of one of the facility.
You have to be trained. We need to know what is going on. If you're going to be having these homes, then the owners must be certified. They must go through some form of protocol. And every time they do that, we can't just say to them, just get yourselves organized. It's an insult to those of us who sit here. So, sir, we need now to set an example. We need to shut them down because we need to teach them that those who are thinking about coming back to this parish or coming to this parish, period, to do any illegal stuff, then we have some form of defense here.
According to information which came up in the meeting, it was revealed that several nursing homes formerly located outside the parish have been moving to Hanover without any permission given by the local authorities.
It reached a stage where I think I'm going to ask that we ask your department to do a thorough investigation on all the nursing homes that we have within the parish itself. Because they keep popping up on us. We have to have some guidelines. We have to ensure that these places, nursing homes, taking care of elderly persons and so on are properly monitored and properly structured and properly registered within the parish itself. You know, there must be some guidelines.
At present, at parish level, we will monitor, we will recommend requirements. If they are not fulfilling those requirements, then the closure notice will be served, and then further legal action will be taken.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says he will not resign from his stance that the contractors of the rehabilitation work at Cornwall Regional Hospital are out of their depth in hospital construction. More in this report. Not backing down. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, after citing inexperience as the reason for the delays in the rehabilitation work at Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James. The minister's statement has not been well received by many who have since laced criticisms and objections. Following a tour at the facility on Friday, journalists put the issue to the health minister again.
It's a factual statement I've made. That is not to say that we don't have technically competent contractors. And maybe one of the problems is that people are interpreting that statement to suggest that somehow we don't feel that the contractors here are technically competent. Of course we have good engineers. Of course we have good builders. Of course we have good project managers. I'm speaking in the context of this particular project, the hospital project. And I'm not going to resign from that. I mean, that's my position.
The government has indicated that it will be seeking international expertise to overcome the challenges with the project at Cornwall Regional Hospital. But opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Maurice Guy, has described the decision to look overseas as a gross affront to contractors and engineers in Jamaica.
We think that for the minister to have made that particular suggestion is really foolhardy, and I think he was misadvised to have made that particular recommendation.
However, the health minister insists the evidence and the lengthy delays speak for themselves.
If my colleague has resumes that suggest otherwise, then throw it into the pool, because we must work together to make it happen. It's easy to say it, but ultimately the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And Cornwall Regional is here to demonstrate that more experience is needed in terms of managing a brownfield hospital project. Otherwise the hospital will be finished, or not finished, but substantially more ahead.
Anthony Log, TVJ News. And we take a break on the midday news. More stories when we return. Welcome back, continuing the news. The Hanover Health Department is appealing for residents to be receptive to the COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available this April. So far, 3 vaccines have been approved, which are Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca. Medical Officer of Health for the parish, Dr. Kazal Singh, says it's more than likely that Jamaica will be getting the Moderna vaccine, which consists of 2 doses. Speaking at a recent municipal corporation meeting, Dr. Singh gave the assurance that the vaccines are safe.
Those vaccines were tried in phase 2 in different walk of life, educators, frontline workers, healthcare workers, all of them were in that trial. And adverse effects were not more than any other vaccine. You know, that was like it gets swelling, temperature here, and some pain. Any vaccine. So it is not something more than any ordinary vaccine that you are having with this vaccine. Might you won't get any adverse effect. That is also a possibility. So first thing we need to be receptive to this vaccine.
A 63-year-old woman from Kingston and St. Andrew and a 64-year-old man from St. Mary are the latest to die from COVID-19 in Jamaica, pushing the island's death toll to 326. The Ministry of Health says 1 more death is being investigated. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 case count now stands at 14,274. 113 new positive cases were reported yesterday. The number of persons hospitalized with COVID-19 has climbed to 113. 13 are in critical condition. With new guidelines expected to kick in next week for return travel to at least 3 countries, the Tourism Ministry is hopeful that measures being implemented will help travelers comply with the new requirements. As we hear in this report from Prince Moore, negative COVID-19 tests will be a requirement to return home. In the meantime, Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says the return of cruise shipping might be longer than anticipated.
The island's tourism sector could face major setbacks if quick action is not taken to address measures which have been instituted by some of the country's largest tourism market. The United States has indicated that effective January 26, all airline passengers from international destinations will have to show proof of a negative PCR test before boarding flights to that country. The UK and Canada also have similar measures in place. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says his ministry has stepped up its efforts to address the requests, with hopes of having everything in place by February 1. He says this was of paramount importance, as the requirements had already resulted in a further reduction of well below 40% in tourist arrivals for the winter season.
We are seeing that together Jamaica will be in a position to respond positively to the demands, particularly of the United States, for testing before departure to that country. We are secondly working with the Global Rescue Team that have been at the center of the end-to-end health insurance coverage that we're seeking to enable every single visitor who comes to this country to participate in as an important cover for how we are going to be able to manage costs in relation to visitors coming to our shores.
In the meantime, Mr. Bartlett says cruise ships are not expected to return to Jamaica before May. He says measures to facilitate their arrival are still being worked on.
We had anticipated that sometime in March we might see a trickle, but it now is back to May. So we think that May to June of this year cruise will be back, and then we will slowly develop the itineraries and come back to normal by this winter of 21-22.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
With the island now in the community spread phase of the respiratory illness COVID-19, at least one hospital says its finances are now taking a hit. The Percy Junior Hospital, which is on the border of Clarendon and Manchester, is facing an uphill task to deal with suspected and confirmed COVID-19 cases. This was highlighted by CEO of the hospital, Carlton Nichols, recently.
We have been facing some severe challenge. As you know, COVID expenditure, major industries within the economy has been impacted in terms of adverse condition. And as a result of that, then our budget is impacted. So
the CEO noted that despite the challenges, the hospital has been able to retrofit and transform one of its wards into a model facility for COVID-19 cases.
COVID-19, just like other facilities, it impacts our service in terms of great demand on our staff, great demand on this unit.
Mr. Nichols was speaking at the handing over ceremony of medical equipment to the hospital. An assortment of equipment was donated by the Jarrah Benevolent Society, a non-profit organization. The Percy Junior Hospital, which is a Type C facility, serves the neighboring parishes of Trelawney, Clarendon, and St. Anne. The government's program for advancement through health and education path is once again under the microscope. The Auditor General has revealed that thousands of dollars were paid out to unqualified recipients.
The Auditor General's findings revealed that poor record-keeping and monitoring system are putting taxpayers' money in the social benefit program at risk. The absence of a proper application management system is also a point of contention. This leads to an excess of $250,000 in payments being made to individuals who did not meet the criteria for transitional grants. Some even received benefits after their grants should have ended. The report says a number of post-secondary students received funds up to a year after completing their programs. The issues with Beneficiaries Management Information System (BMIS) were once again highlighted. This is the same system the Auditor General flagged in another report on causing issues with the payout of grants for the government's COVID-19 care grants. The audit found that between December 2018 and April 2019, 174 names appeared more than once on the BMIS. This means one person would receive their allocated benefits 2 times or more. This error cost the government $2.8 million for that period alone. The Social Security Ministry says it is investigating the overpayments and the issue of duplicate names. Now, from overpayment to overspending. Under a special social protection project linked to the PATH program, the budget was significantly exceeded without any approval or explanation. For the 2014-2015 fiscal year, the budget was exceeded by $10 million, while for 2015-2016, they spent $11 million over budget. As with the other issues, the Social Security Ministry says it is investigating the breaches. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
Gregory Campbell, the man charged with the 2019 murder of his wife, Bishop Gibson schoolteacher Carolyn Davis Campbell, was granted bail when he appeared before the Manchester Circuit Court Friday morning. He was granted a $1 million bail under strict conditions. He will reside in St. James until his next trial date on October 1 and will report to the local police while there. Under his bail condition, he's not to leave that parish. Chief Justice Brian Sykes, who heard the case in the Manchester Circuit Court, said Mr. Campbell should not have any interaction with Mrs. Campbell's family, who lives in Manchester. Mrs. Davis Campbell was fatally shot at her home in Manchester on July 10. The teacher and her husband were at their home in Melrose Mews when a gunman entered. Mrs. Davis Campbell was shot. However, her husband was not injured. In news overseas, President-elect Joe Biden says he's focusing on getting 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine within the first 100 days of his administration. This as the pandemic is claiming thousands of lives each day. But he could be faced with more, as projections are that the U.S. could see 500,000 COVID-19 deaths by the middle of next month. Details from the CNN.
As the U.S. prepares for a new president to take office with a plan to attack the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation's death toll is nearing the 400,000 mark. The incoming director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. has some dark weeks ahead.
By the middle of February, we expect 500,000 deaths in this country. That doesn't speak to the tens of thousands of people who are living with a yet uncharacterized syndrome after they've recovered.
As vaccines slowly roll out, the U.S. is struggling to get the upper hand on the pandemic, especially in parts of California, where state officials say Los Angeles is the first county in the nation to report more than 1 million cases. Around 14,000 of those have died.
It feels like you're waking up to a nightmare every day. It's hard to imagine that many people passing away, and each one of those is a story. It's a family.
The CDC reports at least 88 cases of a highly contagious coronavirus variant, first identified in the UK, were confirmed in 14 states, and that the country has yet to see the full ramifications of spread caused by holiday travel.
It's going to take weeks, if not months, to do the setup things that are necessary. We're all going to have to be patient. I do think we'll get there, but it's going to be hard.
To news in sports now, Jamaica's Carrie Russell followed up her second-place finish on Saturday to take the victory in the women's monobob event at the Bobsleigh World Series on Sunday at Bobsleigh Park City in Utah in the United States. Russell won the overall event after registering a combined time of 1 minute 49.08 seconds to take victory in her heat. She had lap times of 54.13 and 54.95 seconds to turn the tables on American Nicole Vogt, 1 minute 48 seconds, while Brazilian Marina Silva took third with 1 minute 49.83 seconds. On Saturday, Russell finished second in the same event behind Vogt, with Silva taking third. And that's the midday news. I'm Anthony Lugg. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.